so we just got to the Netherlands. I'm really excited for this series because the Netherlands holds a really special place in my heart. My mom moved to the US in the 80s, and we still have a ton of Dutch family here, so we've been visiting ever since I was a little kid. And I did 1 year of grad school in the Netherlands as well, and it's the first time I'm getting to show Stas around. Kind of my other home, my home away from home. So excited to show you what we got going on here. Look at this canal. These are everywhere in the Netherlands.
One of the reasons I wanted to make this video is so that I could unpack this country for myself. If I'm being honest, I still have pretty mixed feelings about this place. The Netherlands is one of the happiest places on earth, the fifth to be precise. So why was I so depressed when I lived here? A lot of it probably boils down to one word, gezellig. Yes, gezellig. The Netherlands is full of contradictions. The weather is perpetually cold and rainy, but it's one of the most popular tourist destinations in Europe. The cuisine is famously bad, but I've never had a meal here that I didn't like. Almost. Dutch people are famously cold and harsh, but they love to party. Half the calendar is for parties. And as you'll see later, anywhere can be a party in the Netherlands. So what's all this have to do with gezellig?
Gezellig. It's one of those wonderfully untranslatable Dutch words that describes a feeling rather than an actual literal thing. It roughly translates to cozy togetherness, but it means more than that. It's a warm or pleasant feeling. It's a charming cafe or home, a pleasant conversation with a friend, or a moment that feels relaxed, intimate, connected. We're here in the Netherlands to try to capture gezellig.
Stas did a pretty good job, considering I just put her on the spot to film this beautiful bridge. But any Dutch person will tell you that's more than that. Dutch people put so much meaning in this word that it's become a byword for all that the Dutch hold dear.
We're in Pop-Up, visiting my mother's childhood home.
So what is gezellig? Taking a cozy little stroll through the countryside to show my wife the old farm where my mom grew up. That's gezellig. This is my aunt and uncle. They live in Amsterdam and graciously agreed to host us, although I think by the end of the trip they might have regretted it. But more on that later. The Netherlands has always been a small country, with tightly knit little farming towns, short summers, and hard winters. This helped build a culture of cooperation and simple, communal ideals that are now reflected in the country's welfare state.
Yeah, not a lot to do around here, but it's very cute.
If these little farms aren't gezellig, then I don't know what is. Even so, teenagers can still manage to ruin the vibe here, just like anywhere else. Not that we actually mind it.
Kozijn. Waar komt die naam vandaan? Het Oudewater.
Next door is the little town of Oudewater. This place looks pretty gezellig. It's clean, and the people are friendly, and the cafes are cute. But it's got a dark secret.
So we've come a pretty long way to the tiny Dutch town of Oudewater for a very important purpose. We need to find out if my wife is a witch.
I'm scared.
Get ready. You're about to be exposed. Are you a witch?
I don't know.
If she's a witch, she'll float.
Think heavy.
How did you travel to the Netherlands?
On a plane?
On a plane. So yeah, you flew, but like a modern way then. Okay.
On a room.
But do you admit that you are a witch or not?
No.
No? Why do they think that you are a witch then?
They think I put a curse on them.
30, 40, 50, 55, 58 kilograms.
That's enough, right?
activities.
Unbelievable. Here I was thinking you're a witch.
People should be weighed naked.
Here in this time, I don't think it's.
And in the past,
Do
were they naked?
you say
Well, naked with like a white dress on.
Yeah, yeah, bijna.
supposed to be a fair weighing?
Here you are. I have proof.
What is this?
You can't burn me on the stake.
For more than a century, people accused of witchcraft would come to Oudewater to be weighed to prove they were not a witch. If their weight was normal, they could escape being put to death. Why travel to Oudewater when there are scales practically everywhere? This was supposedly one of the few places in the world where an accused witch could get a fair weighing. For this reason, no one was ever successfully accused here. This is the kind of Dutch honesty that helps keep towns like this warm and welcoming, or gezellig, even on these spooky fall evenings. Believe it or not, you could take a boat on one of these canals all the way back to Amsterdam. And 500 years ago, a big chunk of this country was still a part of the North Sea. The Dutch are excellent engineers and even better planners. How else could they drain all this land and connect the entire country with a series of picture-perfect canals? And all these canals are a nice little metaphor for Dutch culture too. Dutch people are obsessive planners. Good luck trying to grab a beer with someone if you don't schedule it 2 months in advance. I'm not joking. Gezellig might seem spontaneous, but after living here for over a year, I'm convinced that nothing unexpected happens in this country.
Look at these steep little Amsterdam staircases. It's another beautiful day in Amsterdam. Getting some really classic weather here. And I wanted to show it because all Dutch cozy culture makes a lot more sense when you realize that this is the standard weather. It's like a little breezy, kind of raining. If you spend more than a week here, you'll quickly find that Dutch people love cozy interiors and very warm, friendly places to hang out, whether it's pubs, cafes, coffee shops. I think the main reason for this is because everything outside is completely the opposite, or ongezellig. It's very cold, uninviting, wet, rainy, and it's like this most of the year.
But all this bad weather doesn't stop the Dutch from getting outside and moving around on their preferred mode of transportation, the bicycle. Anyone who's ever biked in the rain knows it's not the best. But I think being forced to go outside and get some exercise, even when it's raining, is a great way to stave off the seasonal depression. There's so many bikes in this country that even have giant bike garages where you're guaranteed to forget where you parked. Still, it's healthy, sustainable, and fun. More than anything else, I wish the rest of the world had Dutch biking culture. What about all these big open windows on the street level that just let you look in? Surely that can't be gezellig. Maybe not, but this is proof of another uniquely Dutch cultural phenomenon that enables gezelligheid. Extreme honesty and straightforwardness, or bespreekbaarheid. Dutch people tell it like it is, even when it's uncalled for. It doesn't sound all cozy and gezellig for everyone to just say how they feel, but it helps police the vibe. If something's off, they'll say so. And that lets people make the change that's necessary for everything to get back to being how it should be. Gezellig.
Around 9 million people visit Amsterdam every year. So tourism is very much a part of the fabric and culture of this city. There are even more tourists than pigeons in Amsterdam. Almost all the restaurants that you see in the city center are built for tourism, including the pancake shops and the stores selling stroopwafels.
I'm so excited. Strawberry one? Yeah. Chase that flower. Oh yeah. It's okay.
What do Yes.
It's a strawberry stroopwafel.
With chocolate.
And there's caramel on the inside.
That's not traditional at all.
It's all about fusion food here in Amsterdam. Yum. So good.
I feel like I really shouldn't tell this to Nick, but my tummy's hurting from those stroopwafels now.
Is tourism gezellig? Most Dutch people would probably say no, but you don't see them spraying tourists with water guns either. The city center is where the Dutch get to sell you gezellig for a premium.
This is the great André Hazes, the greatest singer in all of the Netherlands. And one of his favorite things to do was to sing at Bruinbars.
You know an original?
No, I cannot sing you any André Hazes.
Just like a little melody.
I'm not that Dutch. I'm only half Dutch. One of the most gezellig places in all of the Netherlands is called a Bruinbar, like you see behind me. These traditional Dutch cafes are typically open till 2 a.m. and it's the best place to grab a pint in the city.
Proost. Proost, Nicholas. Sorry. We're starting with liverwurst. I'm not completely sure what it is, but it sounds Dutch, it looks Dutch, and when I asked for forks, the bartender told me that you usually eat it with your hands. So I'm gonna hide these guys. Some mustard. It tastes like liver pate. I would like to spread this on some brown bread. I feel like. What do you think?
I love it, but the mustard is necessary. Otherwise, it's a little too livery to really enjoy just straight up.
Some of Amsterdam's brown bars are hundreds of years old. This one isn't quite that old, but it's close to the house and it's gezellig, which is all you need to make it through these long Dutch winters. Even the great André Hazes, remember this guy? He used to hang out here. But if you want to experience something a little more modern, then you don't have to go far. With the exception of maybe Berlin, Amsterdam is probably the best city there is to get lost in the music. As long as you like techno. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's almost 9:30. We are in Amsterdam and we're going to a party. It's gonna be a long day full of Dutch techno. And yeah, we're pretty excited to show you guys the scene. First time I went to one of these parties, I was 17 with my cousin Fabian. And today we're lucky because he's also going to be taking us.
Fabian is kind of a specialist in Dutch partying. We're running virtually no sleep. Nick came home last night at 3 a.m. And then we couldn't stop laughing and chit-chatting.
Yeah, the jet lag is still there. So maybe we'll have to go to an after party tonight. Who knows?
It's very rainy in Amsterdam. Nicholas is making fun of me for bringing an umbrella. He told me that no one in Amsterdam carries an umbrella. Guess who is silly now? The umbrella is only big for one person.
Well, normally when I'm here, we're riding bikes, and then you can't use the umbrella.
Let's go.
The Netherlands is constantly churning out world-class house and techno artists, and the rave culture here is legendary. Amsterdam Dance Event is where the best come to premiere their music for next year's festival season. Unlike classic music festivals that take over a park or a convention center, ADE is actually a week-long series of parties held at venues all over the city. What does all this have to do with Gezellig? Believe it or not, this ear-bleeding, multi-day party is also Gezellig, or at least it can be. This party, there were a lot of smiles, there wasn't very much pushing, everything went well, and it really did feel gezellig. The next day we went to this party. It had epic props and decorations, and all the extra stuff going on was entertaining, but also kind of distracting. It felt weird for weirdness' sake, and everyone was too busy taking it all in and filming to make much of a connection. You can't force gezellig. This party was thrown in the basement of a former prison. Charlotte DeWitt played an epic set, and the low-ceiling, sweaty techno dungeon really did bring everyone together. This is another one of my favorite things about the Netherlands. Anywhere can be a party venue. In one of our upcoming videos, we get to party our way through Amsterdam's famous museums, so don't forget to subscribe. What'd you think of ADE?
Okay, so let's go. Can we walk towards?
If you thought we could sleep in after all that partying, think again. Just because we woke my aunt up at 6 in the morning after getting home from the party didn't mean she was gonna let us skip out on one last trip to the countryside. The little villages that surround Amsterdam are completely overlooked by the tourists, but easily one of the best parts of the country to visit.
So today we're in the little town of Naarden Vesting, and it's an old fortress city surrounded by a big moat. It's a star fort from the 1700s, and it's really beautiful. It's got like a little bit of a Cotswolds vibe. Very cute little town, lots of good little buildings. One of the things that makes Naarden Vesting so interesting is these huge water bodies you see around it. They surround the city, and historically all this land was dry, and it was a part of the new Dutch water line, which was a 51-mile long defensive barrier that the Dutch Army Corps of Engineers built to protect them from invaders. And so if there were invaders coming, they'd flood it, and that would help protect them.
There's not a lot going on here, but it's cozy and cute, and you know the word.
All these battlements and fortresses and bunkers were never actually used in a war, but these days a few enterprising artists have been able to convince the city government to let them turn the bunkers into art studios. And that's something that my aunt is also trying to do here. So we're hopefully gonna suss out a new art studio today. This is Gabby's studio, or soon to be her studio.
So, just here?
Just,
Yeah.
and then, oh, it's a chest.
This is a studio of an artist who is friend of Gabrielle. This is Gabrielle, Nick's aunt. We're gonna have a little party.
Earlier in this video, I told you that nothing unexpected happens in the Netherlands. That might be true, but I'm still surprised every time I visit this cold, rainy little country by how warm and cozy it is.
Ja, dat hebben we wel. Ja, dat heb je hier. Gewoon aanlopen, dat is gezellig.
Ja.
Ja. Gezellig, hè?
A hostel or a hospital?
Moet je wel even je telefoon
In the end,
inzetten.
gezellig is a mindset, regardless of the weather.
Nice.
I'm visiting Lois in London. Kom voor jou. Ja.
Why did you get some wine?
5 o'clock.
Oh no, we gotta run.
5 o'clock, really?
We zien nog!